Welcome to the MS Gym podcast. I'm your host, Jody Feltham, and it's about to get real as we listen to the victories and struggles of our own MS Gym members. So let's dive in. In today's episode, we join Anne as she shares about her own healing journey through vulnerability, managing her threat bucket, and living out her inner creativity to bless others. Hello, MS Gym family. So glad you could join me for another podcast. And I'm so excited to be talking with one of our own MS Gym family members, Anne Grant. So, Anne, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hello, it's so lovely to be speaking to you. I'm so proud to be a member of the MS Gym family. So it's great. Thank you.
Wonderful. And I say in so many of the podcasts, it's because we're such an international community, and coming from Canada, I don't get to hear many accents, but I love talking to people from all over the world and appreciating everyone's native voice. So I believe you're joining us from England. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, I live in Kendal in the Lake District.
Okay. And I know that we actually have quite a large MS Gym family membership in England as well, quite a large group. So, and I'd like to learn a little bit more about your story. How and when were you diagnosed?
So I was diagnosed about eight and a half years ago. And I was driving home from work one afternoon and I suddenly got double vision. So I stopped the car as soon as I could and got home and phoned the hospital, and they advised me to go and see my doctor it was on a Friday afternoon, so they advised me to go and see the doctor on the Monday. Yeah, it was quite sudden really. I just had double vision from that point. Balance got really bad, so I couldn't really walk in a straight line or down the street, or like my vision was all really bad. So I quickly developed optic neuralgia. So I was cross-eyed for a while, and it all just went downhill really quickly. It was easy for the doctor to know what was wrong with me with a few tests, and he sent me to a neurologist to get some MRI scans.
Okay. And yeah, optic neuritis is definitely one of those red flag symptoms, right? The majority of people that start with optic neuritis. For myself, that was especially. And if you unfortunately go to Dr. Google, it optic neuritis most often ends up being MS. So
Yeah.
so how did that go about affecting your life then? Obviously you the double vision and then the balance issues and trouble walking. How did that change things for you?
Well, I'd been really busy. So I was a freelance writer. I'd also trained to be a black belt taekwondo instructor. Leading up to that point, I'd been attending classes with my black belt instructor, and just finalizing everything and getting set up with my own classes, ready to start my own little business teaching taekwondo. So that was happening. And also my writing career was, at that time, I was working with the Wordsworth Trust. The Wordsworth Trust is quite a high profile poetry organisation in England. And I was working with them in our local arts centre. And it was our big celebration of all the work we'd done that year. It was on the Saturday after I'd had this double vision on the Friday. On the Saturday, I had to go to this event because I was the organizer of it. And I was just saying to everyone, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I think I've got like an ear infection." I just like carried on, as best as I could. But I knew I wasn't quite myself. It was quite strange. It all happened quite suddenly, and then I just couldn't teach taekwondo anymore because very quickly I just couldn't stand up. And I'd like no feeling from my waist down. It was like kind of scary, like all my work disappeared within a weekend really, because it was pretty bad for a while. But then once I got on the disease modifying drug, I'm on Tysabri now, things started to get better.
So obviously your career and your aspirations kind of they got hijacked a little bit by this diagnosis. Once, you know, Thai Salary was working for you, you started making gains back. Did you pursue like a different career, or did you just make a shift in some of your passions that you have?
Yeah, so for a little while I tried to do I had been teaching beforehand as well. So I tried to do supply teaching because I knew that I could just work on days where I felt well enough to work. But it did involve a lot of travel. So that wasn't great because I couldn't always travel, and decided to get a job that was like an administration type role. So luckily a job came up in the local theatre as a membership development officer. So I started doing that part time, and it just meant I just had to get to the office and do admin work, which was a lot better.
And probably hopefully a little bit less stressful, but not necessarily anyway. But
Oh yeah, a lot less stressful. Yeah, because prior to that, I'd also been working with lots of really vulnerable groups, looked after children and that kind of thing, and it was very, even though I loved the work, it was very like all consuming of your energy and thought processes. Yeah, and I knew I just wasn't really capable at that time of handling that. So it was good to get settled into an admin role, and then things calmed down a bit.
and
Yeah.
I know that obviously life has changed so much with COVID. Are you involved in any of this currently, or have you retired, or what's your kind of work status at this point?
And at the moment, I'm working just 8 hours a week, which I think that's where it's going to be from now on. But that's okay. So it's a day a week at the theatre, and then I'm doing like freelance creative writing workshops on Zoom as well. And now and again, I get a commission to write a poem for somebody. So
Oh,
that's good.
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's great that you're still able to express your creative side, right? And obviously that's a deep passion for you, is the writing and the poetry and the creativity. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's what keeps me feeling like positive, and gives me a sense of purpose and balance. Yeah, I just love to express myself with words. So last week I was given a commission to write for some people in a hospice that were um, unable to stand up, to move around, but they wanted to have a poem and some music set to it for them to do some movement in the chair, and it was lovely. Yeah, I was really inspired by everything I'd done at the MS gym to write the poem as well. It was great.
that's wonderful. And of course, now that you mentioned the MS Gym, how did you go about finding it?
I first saw the MS Gym on Facebook, and a friend on Facebook had recommended it to me as well. So I just absolutely loved the exercises that Trevor was doing on Facebook, and also the Motivation Mondays that he was doing. And then I just signed up as soon as I could. At the time, I was having a lot of troubles with MS hugs, and I was like waking up like scared every morning that I was going to have another one because they were so awful. I was like throwing up and like rolling around the floor, like with clutching my ribs, like I just didn't know what to do with myself. And the doctor gave me codeine for it. And I spoke to a neurologist a lot of times about it, and they just said there's nothing we can do. You just have to put up with the pain and take the painkillers. And but I was just, it just drove me mad, just thinking there was nothing I could do. And then suddenly there was Trevor saying, we can do these exercises. And I just thought it was a miracle. It was like, wow, where's this guy come from? It's amazing. So since joining the MS gym and taking part in the programs and doing the exercises, I don't wake up afraid. I wake up feeling happy, and keen to get on with my day. And I feel like with breathing and continuing doing the MS gym, and breathing techniques, I can manage it all right. I still have trouble with MS hugs, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And And it sounds like you had a very kind of extreme version of the MS hug. And just to clarify for people that might not know, the MS hug is something we refer to. It's when because spasticity is so common in MS, and it's basically spasticity in your diaphragm, and it can cause like mild discomfort or tightness or difficulty breathing. And like I said, it sounds like you had a very extreme case of it, the fact that it would, make you throw up or have you on the floor. So I'm so glad that you found the exercises and that they brought you so much relief and that you can feel a little bit more in control, because I can't imagine having that kind of discomfort and your neurologist saying, just suck it up or deal with it. Like that seems like such an awful thing to hear when you're suffering so badly.
I can't tell you how happy I was to find Trevor and the MS gym. It was amazing.
One of the things I noticed in a lot of your posts in the members only corner, what the Facebook group we have for people that pay into the membership, is that you did many videos with you are involved in some sort of dumbbell challenge for fundraising or something. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Oh yeah, that's right. So for the past 2 years, I decided, well, um, I wanted to do something to raise some money for the MS Trust. So in the UK, that's one of the MS charities. And they provide like MS nurses and do lots of research into drugs and that kind of thing. So I decided that I wanted to raise some money for them. And also, when I was getting my Tysabri treatment at the hospital, they have trouble getting in my veins because my veins are so thin and like wiggly. So I decided to do this weightlifting challenge to raise some money.
So that's really great that you're involved in this dumbbell challenge, to raise money for MS. Obviously, something close to your heart and near and dear to your heart. But also the benefits, another benefit of exercise is that you were increasing your vein size for your infusions. Like that's just another
Yeah,
another awesome thing about exercise, how it can benefit your body in so many ways.
absolutely. Yeah. I was looking at all these pictures, if you see the muscle men with all the veins sticking out, and go, yeah, I want to be like that with all the muscles coming out, that's not going to happen. But at least I do feel better about myself.
Oh, that's good. Awesome. So what would you say has been kind of your biggest aha moment, whether in living with MS or in the MS gym or just dealing with living with a chronic illness?
So Trevor did this brilliant talk about threat bucket, and I really took that on board. And at the time, I was still in communication with my mother, which was a really damaging relationship for me because when I grew up, I lived in a very abusive, violent household, and there was a lot of physical and sexual abuse, and my mother was at the center of that. So I really took on board this thing about the threat bucket, and I started making changes in my life. And now I don't have anything to do with my mother. But not only that, I gave some evidence to a government-led project called the Truth Project that was happening, that was to inform government about how young people sort of what the effects of childhood abuse is on young people and how they can better deal with it. So in the process of doing that, I had a case with the police and it was reopened, but that was a good thing because it meant everything from a past was kind of dealt with, and it was all to do with this person that had abused me when I was a child. So I started, identifying all these threats in my life and doing something about it in a major way. And now I live a really peaceful life, and I feel like a much more authentic life because I'm not trying to please people who are actually damaging for me to have communication with. I don't communicate with them anymore. So that really had a profound effect on me, and life's been much better since then.
That's wonderful. And I think for so many of us in the MS gym, Trevor's talk on kind of the threat bucket, I think it woke us up to so many different things. And I'll try to give a gist of it. The threat bucket is about, like, we all have a certain threshold in our life of the stresses that we can take, and picturing those stresses in a bucket, and as it gets higher and higher, we have less capacity to handle these things. And whether it's a physical thing, emotional, environmental, whatever, whenever things get added into this threat bucket, it starts to get heavier, and when it gets too high, it starts to overflow. And in regards to MS, that's when a lot of our symptoms flare up. And so Trevor talks all the time about, guard your threat bucket. Don't add things into your life, and don't be in situations that are going to add stress to your life, because it will just, obviously make life harder, but also make life harder living with MS and managing your symptoms. And for yourself, and it sounds like you had a lot, from your childhood and familial relationships and stuff. And I'm sure for a time that threat bucket was totally overflowing when you were, kind of dragged through the past and that. But it sounds like through that you were able to experience some healing and lower that threat in your life. And it sounds like you've been a tremendous blessing to other people trying to get their own threat bucket, under control. And I hope that you had some reward in that too, and that it wasn't adding too much stress to your own life.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was a really healing process. And I was really glad I went through it. And I remember at the time I posted a few posts up onto the members only corner page about it, and I had some really excellent supportive messages back from uh, MS family members. And yeah, I did feel really supported through the process as well. So um, I'm really glad I went through it. And like I say, I feel like I'm living life with more integrity now and more authentically. So
Mm,
it's all good.
mm. It's the members only corner. We talk about it a lot, and people share their victories and their struggles and everything. And so often I'm so humbled by the members in there that are willing to share their struggles and their vulnerabilities. Like, I'm sure it took a lot of courage for you to reach out and share some of your most intimate experiences in your childhood, just that you felt comfortable enough and that you felt safe enough. Because for the vast majority of us, we've never met each other, right? We're this online community of a couple thousand people, and yet we can feel so bonded to each other just because we understand how hard life can be, with MS. Even if our symptoms are different, even if our mobility is different, even if relationships are different, we have this common bond where we love and we care about each other and we want to be there for each other. So I think I know that you brought a lot of healing to other people by being so willing to be vulnerable, to open up to parts of yourself. I think it gave freedom to other people to also go to those difficult places in their own life to seek after healing.
Yeah, thank you. And it meant a lot to me, to feel like um, I do have this family, and like you say, it's people that you don't actually get to speak to, or you see them on a Facebook page, but um, it's all real, it's all real love. It's brilliant.
So what would you say have been your biggest victories since finding the MS gym, whether they're physical or mental, or like you talk about, the MS hug and the MS gym making such a difference. What else would you say has been a big thing in your life?
So I set a challenge to myself that I would walk from my house into town in Kendal, to this pub that we like. Um, and before, like, we would only ever drive there because I wouldn't be able to walk that far. But I set myself a challenge that I would walk there and have a pint. So I did that. I did that just a couple of months ago. It took me absolutely ages to be able to get together to walk that far, but it was great. So just being able to just constantly set new challenges, and yeah, feeling good about life. It's brilliant.
That's wonderful. And it's so important. It's so important to have goals and hopes and aspirations. So I'm glad that you are incorporating those into your daily life. So, and I know that poetry is a really big thing for you, and you've even posted some different poems in the MOC, and there was especially a really unique poem that you wrote directly for the MS Gym. Would you be kind enough to read it for us?
Yes, so it's got the longest title ever for a poem. It's called Acrostic Poem to Trevor Wicken, CEO, founder, leader, father of the MS Gym, the largest and most comprehensive platform for movement and mindset training for those living with MS and other neurological conditions. Okay, so an acrostic poem is where you use the first letter of in this case, it's Trevor's name, Trevor Wicken, to be the first letter of each line of your poem. So here it is. Thousands of strangers are connected by hope, redefining their abilities and expectations, evolving in their bodies and minds, virtually family, ordinary people experiencing extraordinary miracles. Results speak for themselves. Wisdom and passion fuel our journeys. Individuals feel valued. Compassion is contagious. Kisses and hearts festoon the house you created. Endurance is easy now that you have brought us together.
That is so wonderful, and I'm going to put it in the show notes too, so people can appreciate it, reading it out as well. So that's so great, Anne, and I totally look forward to hearing more of your poems in the MS Gym. And I think you so perfectly illustrated exactly the heartbeat of the MS Gym, the hope and the connection, and just the inspiration and everything that Trevor brings to all of us. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much. It's been so lovely speaking to you. And I feel really proud to be part of the MS Gym. So thank you.
Do you want to give a voice to your own story or learn more about the MS Gym? You can check us out at themsgym.com.